Bingo.
We're live.
We are live.
We are live. Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining in. I've got Mike Wood from ChartAI here with me today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about AI and its impacts on the dental industry. So without further ado, Mike, if you could give us maybe a rundown of who you are, your background, and I can't even remember how we came into contact, but I know you're based in Vancouver, so I'll let you take it from here. How did you get into the dental AI world?
Absolutely, thanks. Well, I don't have a background in dentistry. I got to start with that first and foremost. I have a more recent history in the tech business, in the tech world. Built a solution for actually consumers in automotive, and then one of the investors in that startup brought me into this. Which started with another investor saying, "Oh, what about dentistry?" Because he knew a few people in the dental business, and then we did a bunch of deep dive into it and saw, oh, this is a really kind of underserved market with AI kind of trailing the rest of the world quite a bit, aside from radiographs. And this is a couple of years ago, right?
Okay.
And that's how we got into it. And then spent a lot of time talking to people like yourself. And I've got to tell you, I love it.
Awesome. So if you could kind of give me I guess a short background on how ChartAI came to be and what it's kind of grown into, I guess, over the last year, because I feel like there's been an explosion in dental AI companies in the last year.
Yeah, agreed. I think, we started this project in 2024, in the fall of 2024. We had one single alpha product, if you will, in a dental office in November of 24. And then we just worked at it and progressed and kind of perfected it till about April of 2025. And then we launched a closed beta, and then we opened it up in the summer. And now we're in about 200 different practices. And I'll tell you what we've seen is there has been an explosion of these things. No one's super focused on dental for charting per se, and now there are a few that are, but there weren't at the time. And I think what everyone's looked at is said, this is a challenging environment to work in, right? It's much more difficult than working in a physician's office where you've got it's a 5-minute conversation one-on-one, and there's no background noise or anything else. This is a 1 hour long. I don't have to tell you, I'm preaching to the choir, but you know all the challenges in recording these things and then distilling it into a meaningful chart note from an hour-long conversation, or sometimes even longer. But AI, I think, is making an impact. Interestingly, in dental, I think you can actually see that there's an ROI, which I think a lot of people in a lot of different industries have implemented AI projects, and then they can't really see the ROI. But in dental, it's pretty apparent pretty quickly, and we're only at the beginning. And I like to tell people it's kind of like Netflix when they were mailing people DVDs. Yeah. Where we're at right now, right? You can't turn on the TV and see every single station or every single show that's ever been made, but we're progressing there super fast, and I don't think it's going to take as long as it took Netflix.
Yeah, the progression in the AI industry is wild. Let's say I'm a dentist that's been living under a rock for the last 5 years. I have no idea how AI can integrate into dentistry. I've never heard of ChartAI. Can you give me the kindergartner's description on what ChartAI is and what it does for me and why it's good for me?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of ChartAI, it's an ambient scribe that's also going to take on workflows. So think of it as another CDA.
We got to back up a second, Mike. Yeah. My kindergarten brain doesn't know what an ambient scribe is. We got to really dumb it down.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I will take it a step back. I appreciate that. Basically, think of it as another person in the room listening to the conversation and taking notes, entering them into your practice management software, and then also running the workflows that you naturally take on from there.
Gotcha. Awesome. And so with ChartAI, I signed up for, I can't remember exactly when it was that I signed up with you guys, but I found that it saved a ton of time for the note-taking process or note writing process after the appointment was done. Where did you guys get the, I guess, the inspiration or impetus to start with that particular pain point?
Yeah, so that's the pain point that we heard most from dentists. That's what we did. We just went in and said, I literally would have a meeting with the dentist and say, tell me your number one pain point. And it was usually staff was number one. And then I said, well, give me a pain point that's not staff related, but operations related. And they all said dental charting. Some, and then we did a survey out there and we said, okay, what's more important, perio measurements or dental charting? And it overwhelmingly came back dental charting. I thought it was going to come back with perio measurements.
Interesting.
But yeah, it was dental charting, by a margin of about 20-1.
I mean, on the flip side of that, it could also be a reflection of talking to dentists and not hygienists, because in a hygienist world, they're going to say the perio charting, although they also have to take clinical notes as well. So there's some overlap there. You said that you guys started with one kind of like beta clinic, and then now you're at over 200. Do you guys operate exclusively in Canada, or Canada and the US? Or
so we started in Canada. Obviously, we're based out of Vancouver.
on the road, yep.
Yep. Go Vancouver, go Canada. And we recently have about 5 subscribers in the Seattle area that just like since in the last month that joined us.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. That's awesome.
Which came with its own set of challenges because of the different tooth numbering system, right?
Oh, right. I guess I hadn't even thought of that. Mike, if you're able to, do you have a screen ready to go with ChartAI just so we can kind of take a look and see how the whole user experience works?
Absolutely, I do. Let me just pull it up here. So this is the screen that you're going to come to as soon as you log into ChartAI. You notice it's very simple. We've got the ubiquitous John Doe here, whose appointment has not got an audio yet, so it's just been booked, but hasn't been actually recorded. And it's really simple. If you come in here and you just want to do a quick recording, you would come here and click New Chart. You would type in the patient name. We'll call him John Doe 2, just to be inventive. The owner, you can assign, if it's a particular op where the patient is, or if there's a particular user you want to assign to it. And then you choose a template, and we have all these pre-built templates in here. So you were going to have a question?
Nope, go ahead. I just said awesome.
Yeah, new patient exam seems to be one that is used quite frequently because of the length of that exam and how many notes are usually taken. So if we click new patient consultation, you can punch in the appointment date here if you want, and then you can either click save for later and record the conversation when the patient actually comes in, or if you're live in the op, you can click start recording now. You would click start recording now, wait for permission on the microphone, make sure that you give it microphone permission, otherwise it can't record. And then also get consent for the recording from the patient themselves. Once you've got that, click accept. And then as soon as you see these little bars moving, you're recording every single word that's being said in that particular op. It's very good, even if you have an open op, of canceling out noise out of a certain area. It can tell where voices are, so it can differentiate between the practitioner and the patient. At the end of the appointment, you would just click stop. And then basically, depending on how long it is, it will upload the audio to our servers, which are all HIPAA and, of course, PIPEDA compliant. And then you'll just come here and wait for it to process. I'm going to show you one that's done already. I'm going to show you mine because I don't mind sharing my own appointment. So this is what the chart note looks like. This was I'm a little old for this, but this was recording for me getting my wisdom teeth removed. And on the right here, you'll see the transcript. And this is basically every word that was spoken between the dentist and myself. And as you can see, it kind of goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. And then on the left-hand side here, you have the chart note after I come back up to it. And this is the note. This was a new patient consultation, as you can see right here. And you can edit anything in here you don't like. But this one came out like this, told you how old I am, how much I weigh, how tall I am, told you my blood pressure.
So you're saying we could edit your weight if you
really
wanted to?
I think we should. I'd rather
for the age. Fair enough.
I'm at that age where you want to age it down. And then, they did some PSRs, some probing in my mouth, and they, told me about all the particular issues that may or may not happen, and that my sinus was not in close proximity to the roots of the tooth, and documented everything from a legal standpoint too for the dentist. And I think that's super important. But as I said, you can edit anything in here you want. You can also keep the transcript, obviously, and the recording.
Gotcha. Nice.
That's basically everything there. And then you can simply click copy to clipboard here and export it to your PMS, open up your PMS, and then cut and paste it in. That's version 1. And I think we're probably going to talk about what's coming next. I can tell you what's coming next is going to be the ability to integrate this with your practice management software. So in the morning, all your patients will be there. All listed.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's park that for a minute, and we'll get into the stuff coming down the pipeline in a minute.
For sure.
In terms of I guess, can you go back to the dashboard for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I'm a new user curious about ChartAI, your software, like, well, 2 questions here. 1, do I have to be wearing like a headset microphone like this, or popping in earbuds to have the conversation recorded, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So we created an iPhone app so that you can simply use your phone if you want to as a recording device. You're not going to want to edit on the phone, but you can use it to record, and that's really simple to do. I'll just show you how it would work. If you created, instead of creating the new chart like I just showed you, which relies on the microphone either in the computer, and most ops don't have microphones. So what we've done is we've seen a lot of people will use wireless mics, and they'll put one on the light and one on the back of the chair. They're usually come in pairs, and that does a really great job of recording the conversation. You could also wear one if you were so inclined. We have some fixed microphones that work in closed ops. They're not so great in open ops. Or, as I said, you can use the phone. And if you were going to use the phone, I'll just show you, because if you're a new user, let's assume you don't have a microphone. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Let's say I want to dip my toe in the water and see if I like this ChartAI thing. What's the best way to do that?
So I'm going to show you on this one here that says John Doe, that said no audio. So that one was one that was prepped a while ago, February 6th, about a month ago now. And you can see it says add audio here. If you were running the phone app, you could just pick up this particular patient here and record it on your phone. Hit start, hit stop. It'll automatically show up here when you're done. And then you've just used the phone to record. And as if you're going to use the phone to record, you're going to want to use it with the dedicated iPhone app. We do not have a Android app. However, you can use it on Google Chrome and on Android, but make sure that the back of the phone, like the little part where the microphone is, that you can see it. That's the one recommendation. As long as it's in somewhere within this line of sight to where you're speaking, the phone does a pretty good job of picking up the recordings.
When I first tried that out, I've had pretty good success sticking the phone in my chest pocket of my scrubs with the microphone up, and that seemed to get the job done. Okay, so let's say I've used the app, I'm happy with it, but I want to start using it on the desktop. Do I have to go in and install ChartAI as a separate app on every single workstation in my office?
No, it's a web browser. So we recommend you use Google Chrome. It works extremely well. And then basically you would just go to app.chartai.ai, log in with your credentials, and you're off to the races. So you can use it anywhere.
That was one thing that I found really, really awesome, because when I had tried to, basically I was demoing a couple different softwares, and ChartAI was one of them, and it was super seamless to get it up and running. Like, I didn't have to call into your tech support team to remote into my server to install anything. It's just all browser based, and made it really easy to get up and running. Awesome. I guess now is when I'll circle back and kind of ask you to touch base on what's coming down the pipeline. What's in store? What's on the horizon?
Clearly, I get excited about those things, so I like to bring them up early. So right now, we are working on PMS integrations. Being able to, the first step will be able to bring in all your day's appointments straight into ChartAI, and that's available on Open Dental. Will be available within the next 30 days. For that option. Yeah.
And sorry, before you move on, can you go back to, actually, sorry, we're here. So when you say all of the appointments will become available,
yeah,
you're saying that ChartAI will basically scan through your schedule and auto create each of these little patient file or appointment file
Correct.
for us to click on.
So these
You don't
John
have to
Does,
manually type them in.
correct, these John Does that exist here right now would be basically all pre-populated by date. And we're probably going to change the interface a little bit to allow you a view that looks like your PMS. If you see we have my charts and all charts up here, so you can just see the user that you're logged in at, or you can see every single profile that you have if you click all charts. It'll show up like the calendar.
We can also condense those right now, correct, to a more compact view.
Yes, you can absolutely do that. There's the more compact view, especially if you're busy. That one's going to be a whole lot easier. Thank you for that piece of.
I will state this on the record. I think I had made that suggestion to Mike, and then within a week or two, that feature was available the next time that I logged in. So you guys definitely take user feedback into account and implement it rather quickly. So thank you for that.
Thank you for the suggestion. It made a lot of sense. We could totally overlook that because we're not interfacing with it every single day, but it made total sense. So our next step, and I think you're going to like this, it'll import it like the same calendar view you have in Open Dental in your case.
Awesome.
It'll show you the practitioner or the room and who the patient is and at what time, kind of on that calendar grid that you're used to. And then the next step on that will be to take that chart note once you've approved it in ChartAI. And if you make an edit, I should point this out, if you make an edit in ChartAI, let's say you use a particular brand and it didn't spell it right the first time, you may have to correct it once or twice, but by the third time, it should start auto-correcting.
It'll learn, okay.
Yeah, but you have to make the corrections here and not in your PMS.
Gotcha.
Once you've approved that chart node and you say yes, like you've saved it, or you've decided to, where you click export to PM, where you currently, pardon me, you click copy to clipboard, you'll be able to click export to PMS, and it will automatically insert it on the proper tooth number with the proper information and the bulk notes down and below too. And we're going to enter the dental codes, and then eventually, take it from there and do certain work steps that currently maybe 2 or 3 people have to do automatically.
Oh, that is slick. Super slick.
That's the future, and it won't take us as long as Netflix, I promise.
Awesome. Any other kind of upcoming new features or anything else that we might have glossed over that you want to add or clarify?
I think what you're seeing is you will see a gradual increase in where we want to get to the point where you don't even have to look at it. And that's going to take a little bit more time, obviously, as the technology in general evolves, because right now you still have to look at them and edit them, but we want to get it within the next, say, 16, 18 months to a point where you have confidence in them that you very seldom have to look at them. And then that export to the PMS, which I discussed, begins to take on meaningful workflows. As in book the next appointment automatically, get the insurance approval, submit the insurance paperwork, track the insurance payment, and everything else within one automated system. Human in the loop always, but just freeing up your teams.
That's crazy. Amazing. If you wouldn't mind just closing and stopping sharing your screen, I think it'll make it a little bit less laggy for the recording. So basically, for any Kakebo Dental Network members, keep an eye in your inbox because we do have a special pricing rolling out, as well as, even if you're not a Kakebo member, A, look at signing up, and B, if not, reach out to me and I can put you in contact with Mike and the ChartAI team. To finish things off here, Mike, if people want more information, where do they find you guys?
Yeah, they can find us on the web at chartai.ai. And you know what? I don't mind if they want to reach out to me personally. I'm happy to have the conversation. My email is mike@chartai.ai. So there you go.
Makes life easy. Awesome. Oh, and then one last thing, free trials. That's it. Yes. An option, correct?
Yeah, we have a 2-week free trial. So you can sign up at chartai.ai. And when you do sign up, it won't ask you for a credit card, and you have 2 free weeks to just use it, try it, see what you think, experiment with it, and make sure that you listen to the recordings so that you get an idea of, hey, is that microphone in the right place, or what what may be. And then I think you'd be pretty astounded with the results.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on the call, Mike. It's good chatting with you as always, and I'm sure we'll be in touch again soon.
Thanks very much, Scott. Really appreciate it.
Cheers. Have an awesome day.
You too.
Bye.